Cemetery where my father is buried, there's a black cannon I use as a marker to find his grave. Dark, smooth, polished, and clean, they are kindred spirits in both their outward appearances and their quiet veneers. So they're the strong, black, silent types. But do not let their stoic stances fool you. They are both explosive when they are triggered. But unlike the cannon, my father's ability to boom was never measured by the volume of his voice. Walking proverb he was, he spoke softly, but always carried a big stick. He was a businessman who meant business on and off the clock. Speaking of business, did I mention my father always handled his business for his family's well-being? Because he did. Did I mention he was gunned down during a robbery at the end of business hours at a job he hated trying to provide for us? Because he was. Did I mention the police never handled their business of catching his killer? Because they never did. Did I mention that my mom still cries during these cemetery visits 24 years after the fact? She does. Wow. Did I mention that I have absolutely no idea to this day how to console her? I don't. Did I mention that she still misses him? Did I mention that we still miss him? Did I mention that I still miss him among the missing pages of the masculinity manual that he is no longer here to annotate? Wow. Come on. Because she, we, and I, we still do. But on this day, I found a breach in the atrophy of my lungs under the aging shade tree by his grave. Wow. Come on. The stoic hug of the low-hanging branches. The pursed lips of the leaves in the wind. My dad blew wisdom from beyond in the whispers of their rustling.
Okay, Jared.
Come on. Break my heart. Woo! Because there's a story there. One left behind for a fool. An impudent child who thought being grown meant knowing everything there is to be known, which couldn't be more false. So, on those days when scratching the surface masquerades as a deep-sea dive, I often drown in the impossibility of heart-to-hearts that will never know flesh. But this day was different. There was paternal banter in the breeze. Wow. Silver strands amongst the green grass on the roots, and a comforting mosaic in the brittle of that bark. Today we talked. With no timbre of voice or fist to bump, he still rapped to me with his hushed masculinity. Through the musky sap and the swaying branches, my father gave me a word today. And that word was love. Come on.